it's Natasha and thank you so much for joining me today. Today is going to be a fun one, a little bit different from what I usually do, but we are going to keep it simple. I am still feeling very under the weather at the moment, but I do love my crafting time, so I'm still going to go ahead with the project. This one is really easy, but pretty stunning results, I think. Now, I'm going to be using sequins today. You can pick these up pretty cheap. I have a small selection of sequins left in my stash. I honestly haven't purchased any for years and years and years, but these things seem to last forever because I only ever pop 1 or 2 on a card at a time, or maybe like 4 or 5. So we are going to be using up some sequins today. I also have some glue, and then I have this is actually a wax pencil. Very cheap and cheerful. I have them linked down below. I think it was around, I don't know, 50 cents, less than $1. And I was able to pick up those, and they pick up the sequins perfectly when we place them down on the glue. They release nicely as well. Now, because this is going to be super sequins, I am actually cutting down my card panel here to be 3 1/4 by 4 1/2 inches. So this is a significant amount cut off from my 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch background that I usually have. And I'm deciding which ones I want to start with. I'm going to make a couple of cards for you today just to show you a couple of different options, but we are going to start out simple. Now, I must admit I found it easier because this pack of sequins here is a mixed pack. There is all sorts in here. In fact, there's actually little beads, there's little balls, there is the straight kind of sequins, and then there's the mirror ball sequins. There are lots of different kinds. There are also about 4 or 5 different sizes here. So at the top row, I decided to pick out some of those. Then I have kind of the middle row, I picked out some of those. And then down the bottom are the smaller ones. I wasn't sure at this point what I wanted to use, but this is as simple as popping the sequins on. And I'm going to just do a whole row of little glue dots here. And then pop a little sequin of the same size across each of the glue dots. This is pretty easy to keep it straight because I'm pretty much lining it up with the top of the paper, and it gives me a second to kind of wiggle them around, make sure they're all relatively in line. Then I'm going to add another row of sequins. I'm going to pop these kind of in between the other ones. You can also put sequins onto the end because we can trim the ends off, of course. There is one thing here that you need to make sure you have: a good decent glue, a glue that is not going to let go if you put these through the mail, if you put these in an envelope. You do not want the recipient to kind of have half of the sequins on the card and half of them sort of fluttering off as they open it up. So I am using the Ranger Multi-Medium and the matte finish. That's what's inside these little glue bottles, and I pop them inside these little glue bottles using a syringe. I actually have a video on my channel that is called How to Fill a Glue Bottle, and even if you just search it on YouTube, it will come up and you can see a really easy way to get it inside the bottles. It's much easier than you would think. I've tried lots of ways and definitely found the best way. So I know that this glue is most definitely not going to let go of these sequins. Now, I did 3 rows of the middle size sequins and then 2 rows of the smaller ones, and then I'm going to start kind of dropping these down. This is a little bit like rain or snow, or I don't know, just whatever you want to call it. Now at this point I thought, eek, I need to leave room for my sentiment. So this is the Every Occasion Sentiment Stamp Set by Catherine Pooler. I mean, this card is pretty much as easy as it gets. I am really stamping on the sentiment, sticking on the sequins, but there are a few things that we can do along the way to dress it up just a little bit. So once I have popped down the sentiment, and I know that there's plenty of room, I actually decided to take the even smaller size than that and scatter a couple of those, and then once I got to that point, I thought I was pretty much done. Now, this is going to be the kind of the basic version, and then the next version we are going to step up a little bit. But I love that gorgeous shimmer and shine there. So this one I have gold, and the gold are all the same size, so I don't need to sort through those ones. But the pink ones are the same as the blue ones before. There is all different sizes. There is beads, balls, tiny fine glitter. There is 4 or 5 different sizes of sequins. So I'm picking through to get the same size as the gold ones. I think in particular when you are lining them up, it's easier to have the same size going across the top of the line. So that's what I was thinking when I was choosing these out. Now I do want these on a bit of an angle, a pattern. So I'm taking a little piece of mint tape. This is just some low tack tape. And then I lost a whole lot of footage right here, but you get the gist. All I did was went down on an angle, and that way it kind of forms these little stripes. You super don't need to do this, and you could just mix them up and go random. That would look just as cool, I think, as well. But I really just went along line by line and did them all. These ones aren't as perfectly lined up because of the way that I did it, but I don't think this matters in the final card at all. I fill in a few of the gaps. I like to make sure that some of the sequins are hanging off the edge because I can cut these off later. Then I start to add a few of my random little glue dots, and these are sort of slightly cupped sequins, and I have it so that the cup is kind of facing upwards, so that it's kind of like a little bowl on the piece of paper, I guess. For this one, I decided to do the Get Well Soon sentiment, which I know seems weird for sequins, but I think it's nice because it's kind of bright and shiny and a little bit cheerful. I think sequins are sparkly and shiny, and so that's what I was thinking, and I think you could pretty much use this kind of card for any occasion. So if you don't feel like fully pulling out all of your die cutting machines and your stamps and getting crazy with inks and all sorts of things, then this is a pretty good card. I must admit, I like the way that these turned out. Now all of this, I keep moving it around because I'm loving the shimmer. I do end up cutting off a few of those extra sequins that are hanging off the edge. I needed to wait till the glue was nice and dry, and it is now after I had done my next card. And then from here, we are going to keep this one super simple. This is kind of the basic version. So I am going to pop some foam on the back of this one because even though it's super simple, we like to do those few extra little things that are going to take it to the next level. I do like using some foam strips or foam tape for the outside. I find that is kind of a cleaner look from the side rather than seeing all the little dots underneath, but you can use whatever foam you have. You could even stack up some cardstock underneath, anything to give it just a little bit of height and bring it off that background. I have chosen white on white here, but of course you could have a different colored background too. Very, very shiny and glittery and shimmery, and I love it. Very plain and simple. And so for the next one, we're going to do a couple of things just to step it up a little bit more. First of all, now that the glue is all perfectly dry, I'm going to cut off the sequins that hang over the edge. When I was actually doing these cards, I did think that I probably should have waited for my children to do these because I think they would have loved creating these ones. So I might even do this with them again, and at least I've got a couple of samples to show them how they could perhaps go. They tend to kind of go off on their own tangents and do all sorts of wonderful things anyhow, which I love. So maybe I will do this with them as well. Now here I decided to add a layer of gold cardstock behind this one. Now I use the gold because I've used the gold sequins. I don't like to have too much of the mirror cardstock on my cards. I find it a little bit overwhelming. So I'm going for a pretty skinny little border here. So I've put some double-sided tape on the back, and then that is going to adhere it really nicely and secure to my gold cardstock. And then from here I am going to use my trimmer just to create a really fine border around here. Again, just one of those little ways that we can take it kind of to the next level. Of course you could continue on from here. There are so many things that you could do, and I always get myself in this pickle where my head kind of races and I just want to keep going and going and going, but I just felt like a little bit of crafting today and I thought I would share it with you. Once I have done my little trick of putting the 4 pieces of double-sided tape on the back, I remove the middle one and then add my 4 little tabs, and then I have my 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch card base to pop it down onto. I didn't feel like I needed foam tape with this one because I think that the little gold border gave it just enough. So here are 2 really clean and simple sequin cards for you. I hope you've enjoyed this video today. Thank you so much for watching and sticking with me through to the end. Other than that, I will see you on the next video. Thanks, bye!